Hi, it's Chris Harrigan here at the Amherst Courthouse, and today Daren's having his hearing, and we're gonna go find out, what's going to become of this. And this is insane, really. This man heals people, and he does it for free. And this is on the verge of legalization, and we're still persecuting people who are healing for free with cannabis, and who've been doing. And these are the pioneers. These guys are the guys that fought. The reason why we know all this now.
Oops, sorry.
Anyway, more on this. This is Chris Harrigan. I'm at the Amherst Courthouse, and I just ran into Kevin James. And do you mind if I just ask you a few questions? Let me know what's going on here, buddy.
Well, Daren's in court today. We're having his preliminary hearing. We've asked ahead to enter some motions. We've entered some oral motions right now. The first thing he asked was to be bound by the rules of court, the Interpretation Act, and the judge just basically said we're bound by the rules. I entered a motion to quash based upon the Polko doctrine for lack of jurisdiction or want of jurisdiction. The judge said she was looking to hear the case law from that. She doesn't necessarily need to actually hear the motion now, but she's going to entertain it because I entered the idea that our quash motion is not a constitutional matter, which is an issue we've been having across Canada, as other judges are demanding that it be heard as a constitutional one. It's not really. So after lunch, there will be an opportunity to get the case law before the judge. She's unfamiliar with it. A couple other interesting little developments. This morning, Daren self-identified to the court as being a minister of the Church of the Universe, as well as diverse sanctuaries. And he's currently wearing his yarmulke in the courtroom, his religious head covering, which is something quite unusual apparently for Nova Scotia. The judge also did give leave to me to use a substitutional cap because Daren had forgotten his yarmulke at home this morning when we were leaving, and I ended up surrendering my religious head covering to him to permit him to cover his head in the courtroom.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit, because I didn't know Daren to be a religious person. Is this so?
Well, when you say Daren's a religious person now, that's a determination thing. Everybody in Canada has the right to a religious and or spiritual belief.
Does this change jurisdictions, though?
It changes the situation a little bit, because under Section 176 of the Criminal Code says it's a criminal offense for anyone to impede, to attempt to impede, or interfere with a minister having performed, been, or on the way and performance of his religious duties. So Daren, being a member of Phoenix Tears, and we use the holy anointing oil, it's been recognized previously on Supreme Court of Nova Scotia documentation that Daren is in fact not a member of the drug trade. He's a member of Phoenix Tears. The judge was satisfied that the healing oil that Daren was producing and continues to produce at this time was an effective treatment for cancers in some situations. Now, so Daren's been removed as a member of the drug trade by previous Supreme Court testimony. The judge has accepted cannabis and the treatment, Rick Simpson oil, Phoenix Tears, as being an effective treatment for certain cancers, as well as it being a religious tenet and used in the Bible by Jesus. So Daren does, in fact, use and carry the holy anointing oil. So I guess technically anyone that is needing healing, well, Daren is providing the holy anointing oil according to the directions that have laid out to him by the in the Bible and the way that it was revealed to Daren. Now he's not a Bible thumper, but he's just someone that stands fast in his belief that every person is entitled to use their beliefs, and we're free under God. Quite simply, the Charter says God is supreme. So Daren often says, "Why read any further?" Well, that's a good point. Why surrender your freedom of governance into a field of consequence? This nonsense we're dealing with here, this prohibition, it's all legal. Slavery was legal, prohibition is legal, what they're doing to Daren is legal. It's all legal lies. But currently there is no law standing, and it looks like we are going to be going to trial. I had to be excluded from the courtroom because I'm going to be qualifying as an expert witness to testify at Daren's trial later on.
And what qualifies you is that you were saying that was impressive that you've done what in the past?
Well, in Alberta, I've been called as an expert witness in a couple of trials. One was to do with medical cannabis tenancy rights and the actual usage of cannabis, as well as the spiritual rights of cannabis, in a trial out west with Reverend Tom Hewitt, where we had defended a case where the landlord was trying to evict them over medical cannabis and spiritual cannabis use. Well, it's his home is his castle, and it's a sanctuary. One other thing is, today we're going to be announcing after court, hopefully Daren doesn't get arrested, because they're not recognizing his doctor's signature for ACMPR in the specimen form as being valid. So I tried to inform the judge of the issue and at least give her some forethought that Daren may possibly be breached. And she said, well, she can't deal with any future matters. And well, that's of course, but we just laid it out on the fact that it is valid upon signing, just as any other person can purchase from an LP. Well, Daren's form has been signed by a doctor, and it is valid. So
is that because he had cannabis on him today?
He had cannabis on him too today. Yeah, I had a little bit of cannabis on me too. I brought this nice little bag, and we had some good fun this morning. The sheriff's been looking on at the end, but yeah, it's all good. We talked it over, and the RCMP spoke to a really nice officer. And after the court hearing, I have to go back to the police station to pick up my scissors, medically necessary device. So
I got a little bit of recording.
I don't know, any more questions?
No, what do you expect to come out of today? Like, I didn't, what's the outcome? Like, I mean, there's a lot, they booked the whole day for
Okay,
him.
well, what's going on today is basically, it's not exactly a preliminary hearing. We're just, the Crown's introducing their evidence and whatnot, putting it forward, so we'll be able to hear the testimony at trial. Now, Daren has to introduce his list of witnesses and all sorts of things. So this is just a case of hearing what the police have, whether or not there's valid grounds. The judge is going to make a determination if it's going to continue forward. Well, likely it will continue forward. Daren's opinion, and so a lot of other people's opinions, are pretty simple, that this is just like the Smith decision. There's an unlicensed individual at the time who's providing medical cannabis. In this case, it's Phoenix Tears healing oil to sick people. And Smith was important. This time it may get everybody access to the cure. So Daren Mccormick will be entering notice for a constitutional challenge once we set a court date, and quite likely we're going to be talking about jury nullification. We'll see how that goes, but we'll start a big awareness campaign. And one other little thing, coming up this August, somewhere around the 5th of August or so, there's going to be a number of people riding their bicycles from Nova Scotia all the way to Ottawa in support of Ride for the Cure, Phoenix Tears oil awareness, alternative treatments to cancer, and constitutional charter fundraisers across Canada. So that's Jerry Martin, the King of Compassion, Bob Woosley out in BC, Uncle Bob, and don't forget Kelly Cush, who's done so much great hard work in Ontario. And I'm sorry, I can't recall, there may be a dispensary in Quebec we're currently dealing with as well. And yeah, let's hope everybody can help support Chris, and Chris and everybody else can come support Daren. So looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Oh.
Where you?
You see there's all sorts of signs here, and this is the lady responsible for most of these signs. And Donna.
Hi, everybody.
Now, I met Donna last time we were here, and I've talked to her many times since. She's a huge supporter of Daren Mccormick, and maybe you want to tell the people why you're a huge supporter of Daren McCormick.
Wow. For starters, he's the one that got me hooked with the person that showed me how to get the oil the first time. So, because I had I'm PTSDing so bad today. I haven't had oil in 7 months. My symptoms are all out, and they're
Because you had a head injury, eh? You fell?
I had a head injury. I fell from 13 feet, and then everything I went through, it set off PTSD. And agoraphobia, I don't trust anybody anymore. Everybody's got something to do. Anyway, for 2 years I was on the oil. Daren taught me how to make it. He helped me make my first batch of oil. And from then, I wanted to learn how to grow, and he taught me that. So for the last 2 years, I've grown my own garden. No money has exchanged hands, no drug dealers, including the government. No pesticides, which the government, they're allowed, I think it's 26 different types of pesticides, poisons they can put on their stuff. I'm probably going to get off subject there because I have a friend who's been sick a lot this winter, and the only difference between her and I is she buys LP weed, and it's hurting her with everything that she's got. And the oil really works because the way I was living before, I have people that look at me and say, like, what's wrong with you? And I take no pharmaceuticals.
And this is because of Daren. You feel like
Daren, I could call him at 2 in the morning. Doesn't matter if I'm having an attack. He'll talk to me. We've been on the phone 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, and say, oh God, I gotta take the dogs out or whatever. Like, I forget. It took everything out of me to come this time. I'm going through some stuff at home there that nobody should have to go through. And Daren's a good man. He's done more for me than I can say for a lot of people. Second note,
and Daren,
where the hell is everybody?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. You guys missed quite the.
Daren's helped a lot of people, and that's the real shame. I mean, and largely for free, but I mean,
Daren saved people in the last 6 months, and he's waiting to be. Today, it's a preliminary. They're deciding if it should go to trial. Well, we have all afternoon left, or is it still morning? I don't even know anymore.
So Daren's saving lives, and here we are at court where they're trying to decide whether they should put this man in jail for a minimum of 5 years. Like this is insane. This is insane. This man is helping people for free. He's a very selfless individual. I've seen him do it. And in Canada, we want to lock people up for doing that. And this is on the verge of legal. I can go down to any dispensary and buy the same oil for $70 a gram, and you don't know the quality of it. And people can't afford that. People that need a gram a day and are dying. Daren just didn't think that was right. He had the skills to grow the weed, and he enjoyed helping people. I mean, you just see the guy light up when he's making medicine for somebody, and he knows. I mean, his heart swells. And we're at Amherst Court today because in Canada that's a crime. So
And plus, the guy that's putting the charge against Daren, he's not even here today. Shepard or whatever. Shatford.
Schaffner's been the lawyer that was involved in just about every.
He's the federal prosecutor.
Yeah, as far as I remember, the Rick Simpson, Ed Dean, Simpson, everybody that's had to deal with.
So he's not here today.
Being attacked for being a Phoenix Steers. So,
I'm just overwhelmed from today.
And I'm speaking from memory. I mean,
there's not too many guys I can call at any time of the day when I really need help. And
a lot of people who were waiting for Daren's garden when he got ready. He had how many plants? 200 plants. They said 6, but I remember 2.
Yeah, there was.
But each plant,
I'll mix up the numbers, but
he was naming the plants for the people and sending them pictures for the people that it was going to help. And I mean, he was so proud of it. I never seen the guy so happy in all my life. And he just did 3.5 years in jail for this. And as soon as he got out, 3.5 years is a long time. and he was put in solitary. His shoulder was dislocated. He got beaten down because he took on a role of helping an older guy that was having a hard time in prison, from what I've been told. So I don't know. It's just hard to watch because this guy should be getting medals. Canada should be celebrating. There should be a statue for him down here.
And we should be in there supporting him, but supposedly if we're going to be witnesses, all witnesses were asked to leave the courthouse.
Yeah.
So we don't even know if he's going to need witnesses or if it's going to be a done deal. Could be a done deal today.
Yeah, it's
if
really...
the judge believes that it shouldn't go to the Supreme Court jury.
There's a lot of... It seems like a lot of... I'm not a lawyer. But I mean, I can tell when a deck is stacked against someone, and you sense it. Like, can we do? No, you can't do that. And can you do? No, you can't do this. But I'm pretty sure we can because of this law. I'm not understanding that.
But there is no law right now.
Yeah, it's been like that for a long time. So they're bringing up court cases, and that's what's going to be filed here. We got was it an early lunch or something, so that Kevin James there could get the court cases.
What time is it?
To show the people, to show the court. Sorry, I got a call coming in. So this is what's going on. I'm trying to report it as best I can. We don't have nearly as many supporters here as we should. Most of us have just been taken out because we're potential witnesses to
I'm too
case.
disruptive.
So that's what's happening here in Amherst. And I just want to speak to this. I've known Daren now for quite a few years, and we became friends because he helped someone who was close to me, and stayed up all night and very selflessly did this. He, of course, never charged a dime. And he had court the next morning, and we were up till 4 in the morning. I had to actually stop him and say, "Look, I'll finish it off at home. You need to get some sleep." Because I've never met a person who's just so about helping others. Like, and this is the kind of person we want to put in prison. It's just really, there's this guy's done absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, other than nothing really, because there's these precedents have been set. It seems to me, somebody told me, I remember reading on the Maritime United for Medical Marijuana that an attorney general had said any charges for going to court was an abusive process and contempt of court. I've never been able to find that quote again, but if that's true, then what are we doing here? And I mean, all the other things, like, you know how to save a person's life. If you don't do that, aren't you, or if you stop somebody from doing that, even worse. You've got to just figure out what's right and what's wrong. And this man just does what he feels is right. It doesn't matter what the piece of paper says. He knows it's a natural, safe medicine. The rest of the world knows it's a natural, safe medicine. It's ridiculous. And meanwhile, we're given, these harsh medications, like even to children, opioids, and mind-altering substances, for depression, and they cause suicidality, is what they call it. Not suicidal tendency, suicidality. It's kind of time to end this kind of madness, and just drop the charges. Just, is it just a matter of pride here? Like, what is it really? Is it maybe that Daren retaliated with charges of his own? I can only speculate. I have heard that maybe that's the case. That remains to be seen. But what I do know is we shouldn't be standing here. Daren should have been able to help a whole bunch of people with the garden he had last year. Instead, the first thing that happened when all this went down and all the plants were gone was that's what depressed him. That was the hardest part for him. Not the fact that he was looking at 5 years. Although, don't get me wrong, that's fucking what it said, but it's got to be. And I spent time with him, and I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, that's certain. So on that note, I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and I'll keep I'll keep documenting this as the day goes on, and it'll just be a big long edit. So you'll all see it tonight. Bye.
Direct advocacy manner and activism fashion for Daren. I challenged the status quo today about bringing cannabis into court in the building. I got stopped earlier today in front of everybody. It was quite funny.
I got something on
I was a little bit flustered, and I didn't think I had my ID on me. And at the end of it, it turns out that I did have my ID. So they ended up not initially. The position was they didn't want to let me into the grow with my cannabis, or they were going to take it away. I wouldn't let them have it because it was my medication. So they wanted to see a license.
Yeah.
Well, throughout this whole procedure, I didn't provide my license to them. They have yet to see it. So they have seized, well, they didn't seize, they took my pot, looked at it, and then they gave it back to me. Obviously, they're satisfied.
Now, don't cross that line. He can't cross either there.
That's fine. He can say that. I have a section. I stand firm in the belief that my Section 53 exemption, which predates the MMAR and all the other things, is more valid than their jurisdiction.
Yeah. So that was the process of getting through the door. Did you get through the door?
Oh, got through the door, no problem. So
They had both Daren and him held for over 20 minutes to half an hour.
Yeah, there. I still have all my pot.
Yeah.
Just a little bit that I brought with me. And then we had an issue over some head coverings in the building. Daren likes to wear a captain's hat.
Okay.
And I wear a hemp-based head covering. One of our tenets of our basic belief is to use God's gifts. So God's given us the hemp plant, so we use his gifts as often as possible every day. Previously, in the Supreme Court decision in the last trial, it was put on record in front, but
Here we are, Daren. I need to know what's going on here, buddy.
Well, I just had a fellow, like I can't remember his name now, on the stand, who stated, as far as the gun goes, it didn't have a firing pin. It's not a firearm.
if you can mention that it was my Section 53 exemption.
Now, geez, the only gun that had a firearm was the shotgun. The rest are all old antique ball and caps, rusted up, seized up, and even they acknowledge the fact.
That's your dad's shotgun?
Yeah. Well, it started with my second cousin, went to my grandfather, then my father. They still got the exhibit tag off in 2003 when they took 2005 when they took it from me.
Right.
Now, geez, obviously, I got it back. And, geez, there was no shells for it. It's a family heirloom. Same as some of the other handguns. The handguns. But none of the handguns were ever made with a fire pin. They're all antiques.
Yeah, I mean, these are like, really, they're old rusted old guns, man. Like a bucket of rusted old antique.
None of them operate.
That don't even fire.
I'll give you pictures of them. They just give me pictures of them. When do you see them? It's hilarious. As I say, some of them look like they were found by a farmer with his plow.
So what's going on with the cannabis? Has that been brought up yet?
Well, the cop doesn't know the difference between cannabis indica, cannabis sativa, and cannabis rudolphus. What they were calling, well, I'm now down, it was over 600 plants, I'm now down to 300 and some, 306. They acknowledge that most of the ones inside in the peat pots were just dead plants.
Okay.
They weren't good enough quality.
Okay.
Question I got, remember that box that he was talking to with the cloner?
Yeah.
He said it's on a cloner?
Yeah.
And
That's a roto grow.
Wait. And the judge said he's not allowed to say what you use it for. He's only allowed to say what it is used for.
We're just on a little 5-minute break here. Maybe you can give us a little update of what's going on here, Dan.
Well, they qualified their expert witness on cannabis. I guess he was an expert in growing, cultivation, trafficking, distribution, that sort of thing. Now, apparently my plants only produce 1 to 2 ounces per plant. But I've got the count down from over 600 down to 3. They acknowledge that dead plants don't produce nothing. Yeah, I start more plants manually use, and I pick out the best.
Sure.
You don't plant little sickly things. Who would? Right? So yeah, I just abandon them in the room and just let them go.
So right now, the only thing kind of holding on is the blanks. The guns, you see, you know, you can find.
Well, actually, if one of the police officers, I was the second one to testify, if it doesn't have a firing pin, it's not classified as a firearm. Well, if you ball and cap, you don't seized up, they can really have firearm. Even back in the day when they were working. They work on ball and cap, not a firearm.
See?
So what I got to do is get a copy of the picture, which I said in court today. And I'll go to court and clicks on that.
What's your gut feeling about what's going on? Like,
Oh, they're going to try to put me away for years.
you feel you're winning?
In law, yes. Okay, I honestly believe they got to throw it.
And it was weird that you were asking how much you would get off this file with stitches, and she was saying he's not qualified for that. But the very next cross-examination on the ground, he said, how much you get off the land? He said, more good than 10 pounds, he said. If they asked, but if he asked the same one, they won't allow it.
They just want to buy us the exact same question.
Crazy. The iron justice system. That word in Canada. Speak to it. So I spent the day at Daren McCormick's preliminary, and I mean, unfortunately the audio is really bad. I can't always bring my production camera and everything else in tight situations like that. I'm trying to get used to just filming with my phone, and what I'm getting at is I wish the audio was a little better, and I'm gonna see if I can't hook up my professional stuff to my phone next time. Thing is, we left at about close to 4:30. We were told that that's probably when it would end. It's going to be, there'll be another date set. But the long and short of what happened today was, I mean, really, do these guys even have any evidence? I mean, they walk in the court and they say, look, there isn't even a law because of this and this and this, these case files. So the judge says, well, that's interesting. I'd like to see those case files. So those got put in, but she was also saying that, you know, this isn't the time for that, and you know, there did seem to be a lot of roadblocks for anything that they were trying to do. At first she was like, look, you have two options, and then the very next thing she said, well, okay, well, you don't have two options, you have a whole bunch of options. Okay, well, which is it there? So yeah, I didn't get to see a whole lot, so what you guys got to hear is basically what happened through, if you can get through the, you know, and hear what Daren's saying. Like, you know, these are country people, and people have to remember that too. Like, these was just a bucket of old, rusted old guns that Daren thought was cool. They don't have a firing pin. They are not guns. They're just ornaments. And I mean, come on. This is not something, you know, this is not what this is really all about. And then there's an old shotgun in there that belonged to his dad in a separate house. Still with the evidence tag from 2005 when they took it the first time and gave it back. Well, you don't give it back unless there's somebody who has the right there to have it. So clearly, I have been told that it's like a long barrel shotgun. There's no ammunition in the house. It's just a family heirloom. And I was told that even if it wasn't, it's not under the criminal code a gun. You don't have to register it, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. That would remain to be seen. But these aren't weapons that you go robbing banks with or anything. They're not weapons. So I mean, it's ridiculous. And then the other thing, of course, is all the cannabis. And I mean, please keep in mind how many people were waiting for this garden to be done so they would get their medicine that he was going to give to them without charging anything. You can clearly see Daren's not about money. I don't think he'd know what to do with it other than just try to advance what he's doing to help people. And you got to admire the spirit of it all, because here's a man who says, you know, other people would have just said, like, I mean, look, and I don't fault him for this, but Rick left the country. He was just like, you know what, fuck you, Canada. I gave you a cure for cancer, and you put me through court, you put me through hell, and da-da-da-da-da-da. You put me in exile, you raid my house, you know, over and over. And this last time was pretty sketchy, and you can go online and look at it. They're like, you know, the police were denying they were ever there, but yet the cameras inside the house will tell you different. Why? In this, you know, in this time, like, you know, why? I mean, it's pretty much accepted now that cannabis is medicine. The last time he went to court, he had a judge saying that yes, this does cure certain forms of cancer, and Daren's not part of the drug trade. This has all been stated in court already. And you know, like, why keep beating this dead horse? Why? Is it just because this guy just does not bow down to the system? He just says, I know how to cure somebody, and I'm not going to not do it because I know how to do it. And it's my calling to do that. He feels it gives his life purpose. I can understand. Anybody should. You know, once you've cured a few people of diseases that the doctors have given up on, and, you know, have given them, they had no hope left, and then they come back and live, or at least have a way better quality of life before they go than being junked out on opioids and chemotherapy that, you know, is you know, I've talked to a lot of nurses that'll tell you that, who have told me that they would rather die of the cancer than take the chemotherapy. So that's been told to me, and you know, I've been lucky enough, I haven't seen too many people go through that. My stepfather did. He lost his hair and all that, but he was lucky. He had non-Hodgkin's, which does actually react pretty good to chemotherapy, but it's one of the very few, and it's not to say it's long-term. He's been given a death sentence. He's already been told, you know, you're not going to get rid of the cancer. It's going to kill you eventually. So, you know, he goes through the chemo every now and again. Although he was offered alternatives. This is where his heart's at. This is what he wants to do. We live in a country where this, like, I mean, we're supposed to be civilized and forward thinking. We should be pretty screaming from the rooftops that, hey, a cure for many diseases was found here. And is it a cure? You know, like, I don't know. I've watched a lot of stuff on cancer now, and one thing that seems to be with all the different cures is getting your pH up, letting your immune system do its job, you know, doing all you can. And I believe that the activating the endocannabinoid system, which is what happens, is what does that. That's my opinion. And I think that, I strongly believe that that's the mechanism going on, and it facilitates yourself getting better. Cancer, they'll tell you, oh, we just have better ways to find it now. Again, look, it used to be a medical oddity in the books. You'd have to look into it to find it. Like, it just wasn't something that was out in the community all over. And this is a relatively new thing from all these documentaries and things I've watched. So, people like Daren, you know, he's good at growing plants. He was a beekeeper. He's gentle. You know, he just, I mean, look at the guy. He never fit in with everybody else. That wasn't what, you know, he's just that special guy, man, that's found his calling. He likes people, and he likes nature, and he likes using nature and his abilities and his knowledge to help others. And, you know, this isn't an issue anymore. The doctors are prescribing this as medicine all over the country. This it's medicine. It's all. And it's natural. And who's the government to say that they have the fucking right to tell us whether or not we can have it? Who are they? This is nature. Now it's whatever isn't what is it, Napoleonic law there? Like, you know, whatever is not allowed is forbidden. Like, basically, if we didn't say you could have it, you assume it's forbidden, you know. And that's been imposed on us all because now, you know, that's the way it is. The government gets to tell you how you can get better, whether you know better or not. You don't have sovereignty over your body. You don't have sovereignty over your mind. You don't have sovereignty over your own consciousness. You can't experience things through, you know, psychedelic experiences and stuff, which can be very beneficial for many, many, many people and for many, many things, spiritually or medically, or, you know, all sorts of different things. So, anyway, these things are still going on. It's just enough to make you want to vomit and worse. And I can't wait to see the day with this ridiculous stuff is done and somebody like Daren is recognized as a hero and not a criminal, and he hasn't done nothing. He hasn't done nothing to nobody. There's no victims. No victim, no crime. My new channel is XHRGN. I'm going to start posting all this kind of material there. So I hope you follow along and you subscribe and hit like, because I'm going to keep following these kind of stories all around me. And cheers. And peace. And use crypto. It'll fix everything.